Ignazio Alboré, Second Democracy. Impossibility of a subjective determination of value. The Tools of State Values, Chapter 2. States, through the tools of state values, decide much of the value of goods. Some examples. 1. Government spending and public investment, GDP made up of spending, EU 51.7%, Euro area 52.6%, USA 43.6%, Japan 47.2%, UK 53%, Germany 51.3%, France 59.2%, Italy 57.3%, Spain 50.6%. 2. Taxes and duties, taxes in relation to GDP, France 41.9%, Netherlands 39.1%, Germany 37%, UK 34.3%, USA 23%, Israel 31.4%, Canada 31.1%, Denmark 48.2%, Sweden 46.4%, Italy 44.5%, Finland 43.1%. 3. Transfers to businesses and families, subsidies to businesses and families, tax expenditure, incentives, concessions, derogations, exemptions, deductions, tax credits. 4. Public employees, on average 20% of the workforce. 5. Welfare, public assistance, public health, public social security, public school. 6. Budget laws, industrial and labor policies, government debt. With the budget laws, every year, governments decide the economy of the following year. 7. Government control over what I call towing goods, energy, labor, money, government spending, that is, goods that indirectly decide the value and price of all other goods. Energy value, determined by government regulation, subsidies, public choices in favor, disfavor, cartels, monopolists. Value of work, determined by collective bargaining, minimum wages, public employees, unions, business associations, national or supranational laws, see cap. Value of money, determined by the monopoly of central banks on the interest rate and the quantity of money. Spending, approximately 50% of the value produced by countries is directly generated by government spending, which then indirectly decides a value much greater than 50%. 8. Control of supranational bodies over national government budgets and national economic policies. 9. Government regulation of the economy, protectionism, geopolitical strategies. 10. Monopoly of central banks on the issuance of money, cost of money, expansionary monetary maneuvers. 11. Government control and government protection of enterprises, public monopolies, state-owned companies, municipal companies, very powerful public banks, protection of parasitic rent and crony capitalism, protection of private monopolies and oligopolies, corporate bailouts, state-backed mergers, government subsidies to inefficient enterprises, public television, privatizations that replace a public monopolist with a private one. 12. Regulation of the labor market, unions, business associations, collective bargaining, minimum wages. 13. Spending and regulation of supranational bodies, subsidies, transfers, financing, see EU funds, cap, EU long-term budget of 2018 trillion euros, control of national economic policies, see Stability Pact, Maastricht parameters, etc., huge liquidity emissions, see ECB-Q.I, fixed exchange rates. 14. International treaties, foreign policy agreements on economic matters, preferential trade agreements, PTA, trade agreements between governments and foreign companies, multi-year geopolitical relations between states, strategic agreements between states on the main raw materials, economic sanctions, institutions and diplomatic actions. 15. Local politics is made up of tacit and informal mini-contracts between politicians and private individuals, that is, promises and commitments to be kept. At the local level, before the free market arrives, often everything is already decided by customs to be respected and things that must go a certain way under penalty of upsetting balances that only those directly involved know. Local politics demands that problems be solved, here and now. 16. Banking politics nexus. 17. Over 80% of world trade is subject to politically induced trade distortion, mostly in the form of subsidies. Less than 20% of cross-border transactions are freely traded. Government export incentives account for 64% of world trade. 18. The prices of the most important goods, those which indirectly determine, in fact, the value of all other goods, are decided under oligopoly and monopoly regimes. The largest economy in the world, the USA, is entirely dominated by monopolies. 19. Nearly half of the countries are autocracies. Only 5.7% of the world's population lives in full democracies. 20. Bureaucracy, deep state, media, regulated lobbying, state lobbying, announcement effects, politicization of the judiciary, political co-optation. 21. The war industry is fueled by governments, which are the largest purchasers of weapons. The largest war companies in the world either have the government as their largest contractor, or are public, or have the government as their largest shareholder. 22. Major emergencies, health, economic, war, environmental, national defense, can only be addressed by public administrations. 23. Epochal changes of direction in the energy, ecological, digital, health, public order and security fields can only be achieved by public administrations. 24. Some economic sectors cannot exist without government subsidies and government regulation, see agriculture, fishing. The above are not exceptions or temporary phenomena, but the norm. Contemporary economic theory believes that they are accidents along the way that hamper the free market. Instead, they are reality, the world.